Hi there. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tinnitist TV. Today, I am talking to Carl Newman, the man who puts the new in new pornographers, especially these days. On the Canadian Supergroup's 9th studio album, Continue as a Guest, the singer-guitarist and chief songwriter transformed the hurdles of pandemic isolation to his advantage. He not only taught himself how to record and produce an album alone at home, but embraced the creative possibilities that arose as a result, challenging himself to find new ways of writing lyrics, making music, and collaborating with his distant bandmates. The result is one of the freshest, freest, and most vibrantly engaging albums in the band's catalog. Shortly before its release, Newman zoomed in from his Woodstock-area home to discuss herding cats, polishing turds, being an older pornographer, and plenty more. Enjoy. Hey, Carl Newman, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am good today, thank you. It is early to be doing this interview.
Not really. What is it? Well, what time is it for you?
It's 9 o'clock for me.
Oh, it's 10 here.
Yeah, I know. Not a very rock star type of.
I have to get up early. I
You
mean,
got-
I
Uh-huh.
I I don't have to show up at any job, but I can't be the loser who stays in bed while my wife and son get up. So
Uh-huh.
I gotta at least give the impression that I'm doing something.
I hear you. I hear you. And after listening to Continue as a Guest, it kind of fits in with a lot of the themes that I think are going on in the album, which we'll get to. But I mean,
Mhm.
first of all, my compliments on this. 9 albums. When
Yeah.
you first made Mass Romantic back in the day, I mean, given that you guys all had other, artistic pursuits and bands and things going on, did you think of it as the first in, what would be a long-term project? Or at that point, were you seeing it kind of as a one-off and maybe you do something more down the road?
Yeah, I really could not see past the record. I mean, when we made the record, I could only see as far as finishing it.
Hmm.
Like I felt like once it was done, I thought like, okay, my work is done. Like I did it. Like I finally finished that thing I've been like working on for a few years. So that felt happy. Yeah, I've said it many times through the years. Like I had honestly no delusions of success, like zero delusions. And I think I remember when Mint Records, our first label, they talked about us like, so are you going to do a second record? And I honestly went, I don't know. Like I felt like if that record had come out and nobody paid attention,
Yeah,
that might have been it.
right.
That might have been like, well, we made that record, nobody cared, so we're going to stop, I guess. But that's not what happened. But I remember, like, I feel like it was kind of the dumbest business move I think we did, was that like we signed basically like a big deal with Mint Records because I thought, who cares? You know,
Uh,
like the idea that this record was going to be worth a lot of money just seemed absurd. So I thought, sure, you want to put out a record, sure. You know, like I just thought, like I really thought, who cares? And then I realized, like, oh, that was kind of a dumb move. Like I handed Mint Records a lot of money on a platter there. But yeah, it came down to just like not knowing it was going to be worth anything. I think my previous band had been signed to Sub Pop, and I feel like I came out the other side like a little bit more of a little bit more DIY. Like I realized, like, oh, we had this really cool label and we had a really cool producer, but then I realized, like, your label and your producer can't do it for you. you
right.
know
Yeah.
I realized, like, oh, they can't magically transform us into a success. They can't magically turn us into what we want to be. So I think I came out the other side maybe slightly deflated because our record didn't do well, but a little bit more fiercely DIY. And so I think I carried that with me when we started. I just thought, who cares? I'm going to make the record and let's put it out there.
Yeah.
And if something happens, something happens.
Right.
But and that can work in your favor sometimes. But I think I accidentally devalued us.
Well, I think you've had the last laugh.
Yeah, I realized like, yeah, and then I realized like, hey, it's other people's job to underestimate me. It's not my job.
Misunderestimated is a George Bushism, I think, isn't it?
I misunderestimated, yes. Hey, I stopped myself before I actually said it, so I want some credit there. But yeah, like I was saying, I think, yeah, it reminded me I shouldn't underestimate myself.
Yeah. Well, speaking of DIY, I mean, I get the sense that partly on a practical, pragmatic level, Continue as a Guest is a little more DIY than even you've been before. I mean, I get the sense from reading some of the press stuff and some of your other interviews that because of the pandemic, you were essentially sitting there by yourself, teaching yourself how to produce and engineer and work a lot of the technology to make this album.
Yeah, and I still am. I'm still doing that. An interesting realization was that I would just sit in the studio and just mess around. Like sometimes I didn't know what I was doing. I would like, what if I turn this knob up?
Sure.
Okay, what if I turn this knob down? And I would just get something that I just sounded good. And I remember thinking like, well, I'm gonna get somebody else to do this properly. But then I realized that, that what I did there was the proper version, like even if I couldn't explain to you exactly what I did, the fact that I had to sit there and like by trial and error found sounds that I liked, like that's legitimate, like you don't necessarily have to be an engineer who spent 10 years doing it. And then when I went into mixing it, I realized that, yeah, like a lot of stuff that I did on my own was what I wanted to keep. Like there was a sound that came from me just, working by myself that was kind of unique. But yeah, there's still a lot of it I don't understand, but
It's all monkeys and typewriters to you, huh?
not completely. Well, when you're doing digital recording, you have like an infinite amount of choices a lot of the time. So I tried to keep everything minimal. Like I told myself, like, I'm only going to use this one compressor. I'm only going to use this one drive effect. I'm only going to use this one multi-mode filter. I'm only going to use this one noise gate. I just tried to, again, by trial and error, I found some things that worked. And I thought, just to make my life simple, I'm going to pretend it's like a studio in 1964 and I only have 8 effects, and just try and purposely limit myself. And that makes life easier too.
Yeah.
It means there are less choices to make. Just, use the same plugins and effects that you like, the same pedals that you like. And that made life a lot easier.
Yeah, it makes for I would think, a more consistent kind of unified sound as well, right?
Yeah, ideally, yeah.
So I always imagine, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but that there's a certain amount of cat herding that has to take place for you guys to make an album. Was there more or less of that for this one, or am I wrong just in that assumption?
Yeah, there is a lot of cat herding. The ironic part of this record was that Nico was always the hardest person to get.
That sounds right. Yeah,
but during the pandemic, she was much easier to nail down, and she only lives about 4 or 5 hours from me, so it was easy for me to like go there or for her to come here. And so yeah, it was kind of the opposite of the usual thing, whereas like Nico was the closest one and then everybody else was like farther away. But we've always been kind of long distance. Like, yeah, like from the beginning, Nico was never around. It was always tough getting her. And then like I moved to New York in like 2005. So there was God, for a long time, we've just been doing a lot of stuff long distance. And well, I realized a few years ago that I don't always have to be in the room. Like if I want Catherine to play some keyboard stuff, I don't need to be standing behind her, you know?
Uh-huh.
Like she has a studio in her house and I can say, "Hey, do you have any ideas for this? Just send me a bunch of stuff." And then she can send it to me and I think, "Yeah, this works."
Hmm.
Because I realized in the past, I was, when other people were tracking, I was just kind of hanging out. Uh, you know, so I thought, well, why don't we just cut out? Why don't we just cut me out of the equation? I don't always need to be there. So
That's, I mean, that's a kind of a remarkable insight because, I would think you would become maybe more of a control freak as you got older as opposed to less.
well, yeah, but I mean, if there are elements of me being a freak, it's like after I get everybody's ideas. Like I mean, like I want to hear what everybody does, and I'm going to go, okay, that's great. I mean, I'm not so insane that I think only I have good ideas. It's like I want to hear what everybody has to do, and then I go, okay, I love that. That's good. And
Yeah,
then
and
I
when you
become
don't have to be in the room when they're recording, then you take it and they can get out of the room, right?
yeah, basically. Um, and I think they all know how I work. So when they send me 5 or 10 ideas, they know it's not all going on the record. They know they're sending me a bunch of stuff, and that I'm gonna find one. And I'm gonna go, okay, that's great. And then
How much back and forth in your mind does that take? I mean, do you, if somebody's sending you 5 choices and you've got 5 people sending you 5 or 6 choices, that's 25, 30 options multiplied into infinity,
well,
right?
it's
So,
not,
I
but
mean,
it's not all happening at the same time.
no, but I guess I'm imagining that whatever template you start with, you get, some ideas from one person and some ideas from another person. And I just kind of, I guess I imagine you having this, kind of expanse of multiverse possibilities for a song. And I'm wondering how you get from sort of the point A to, the end point of a song when you
Well,
have all those options.
it is true. Like there are some times when I could make 2 different mixes of a song just from the tracks I have, and it would be a
Yeah,
completely different song.
right.
I mean, to the extent that sometimes I've done a completely different vocal take with different lyrics and a different melody. Um, yeah, and it can drive you to madness. But I think it just comes down to doing the work.
Hmm.
Like
You just know when this is the right choice at
you
some
you
point.
just you sit down and you try and listen to it as clinically as possible.
Hmm.
Just go, okay, what do I not like here?
Right. But
Like
does it
if it's not working, why is it not working? And try and
right.
figure out how to fix it.
Is there so you're not following obviously you couldn't follow every idea down to its conclusion, but I mean, are there tracks where you've done, 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 different completed versions and then picked one of those?
Oh no.
Okay.
We usually
So it willows,
those
kind of winnows down, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, definitely. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes I feel like I went down the wrong path. Like sometimes I felt like, oh, halfway through the song, I kind of went down another tangent and followed another way. And then I'll listen to an earlier demo and go, oh, I really liked the way it was earlier. Um, so you try to avoid that, you know,
Yeah, I would think.
because it can be easy just to start getting distracted, and you get distracted. Like sometimes, like a new part, some element you'll add an element to the song, and you'll think, oh, I love this. This is cool, and you'll just love it because of the novelty. And then you start following that element, and then you realize, wait a minute, I'm getting away from the song.
Right.
You become fascinated by some little bauble or trinket that you've dangled in the song, and you have to go back and go, okay, no, what does the song need? Yeah, like I said, it's a road that can lead to madness. You have to sometimes you have to pull everything away
Right.
and go like, okay, what works? Let's pull it back to the beat and the vocals, and let's.
Right. I mean, I can see how, also though, it could lead to the new Pornographers alternate universe box set, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if that would be worth the effort involved to do that. I don't think I have it in me.
I hear you. So let's talk about a lot of the lyrics on this one, because, for me, as somebody also in their 50s, a lot of the themes that you're talking about here, the disconnection, the kind of being happy to be, in your own place at your own time and not sort of feeling the need to belong into other groups in some way. I mean, these are all things, to me, this is an album made by a 55-year-old for other 55-year-olds,
Hey, I'm not 55-year-old. I'm not 55 yet.
How old are you?
54.
Okay, well, sorry, I
Close.
rescind that.
I'm approaching it.
Uh-huh, well, sure.
But point taken. Yes.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Well, I mean, I saw a quote in another interview you did, and you said, I think there's a lot of music out there that's just highly polished turds, no song, but so beautifully produced and so beautifully sung that people just don't care. Which to me is kind of, yeah, I totally understand that, and that is,
And I'm a fan of polished turds.
are you?
I mean, I feel like I should get better at polishing myself. Um,
You're not making turds, my friend.
well, I don't know. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, I guess.
Well, for sure. But to me, again, that's a quote spoken like a true 55-year-old man who listens to
Yeah,
it goes, this song has one chord and no bridge, and
I mean, I know it sounds like grumpy old man speak, but I mean, I love a lot of music that does that, but it's like anything, some people are really good at it and some people are not.
Mhm.
you know it's like I think I come like a different kind of music, but I think I come across as sometimes as a person who doesn't like country music, and I love country music. It's
Uh-huh.
just that I think a lot of it is absolute shit. I think it's just there's too many mediocre people working in the genre.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but I could,
Mhm.
again, just sounding like a grumpy old dude.
Uh-huh. But I mean, I do get the sense from a lot of these lyrics that you have reached a kind of place of being comfortable in your own skin.
I mean, trying to,
Mhm.
I think.
At least artistically.
Yeah. I mean, I think artistically, yeah. I mean, I think the great thing about doing anything creative is the sense of like control. So many things in your life are out of control,
Right.
and you do something creative, and it's something you have control of. It's something you're creating. I mean, it's very much a positive act, and I feel like it's ultimately hopeful. Even if you're writing a sad song, just the act of creation is a very hopeful thing. So I mean, I think I'm very much a purist more than I've ever been. I feel cynical about the business of music, even though I'm surrounded by a lot of great people who work in the business of music. But yeah, I think just at the heart of it, you know, I'm yeah, I like the act of making music. Like during the pandemic, I felt like I was just making music and I didn't care if anybody heard it.
Right.
I just the act of making something was its own reward. And not even the act of finishing something, just the act of working on something,
Right.
working towards something.
But yeah, but at the same time too, that kind of ties in with, I think, again, the theme of some of the album, and part of just being the age that you are and having been doing this for as long as you've done it, talking about
Mhm.
not caring anymore. I mean, I'm guessing there were times during the past quarter century that you've been doing this that you felt sort of pressured to, achieve something, or maybe write a hit or meet some demand, or you know try and reach some commercial goal. But
Yeah.
at this stage in the game, it's kind of like, screw that. You've
I mean, yeah, I mean, you want to succeed, but to a certain degree, like you have to say screw that. You
Mhm,
know,
right.
like you want to hope for the best, but you also want to say to everybody around you, we're not going to have a hit, right? Like, that ship has sailed, right? If we were going to have a hit, it was going to happen 20 years ago. Um, but no bands, you don't need to have a hit. I think yeah, I think in the past I have felt that stress of feeling like there's some weight on your shoulders, like your record needs to sell a certain amount. And some of that we kind of brought upon ourselves. Like if you're asking for a label to give you big advances, well, you're going to have that label trying to recoup their advance back again, so
Yeah.
there are choices you make along the way. We could have stayed completely DIY and said, we're going to make our own records, you don't have to give us any advances, we'll just split the profits 50-50. We could have been DIY punk, but I think for a while there we were, what do you call it, reaching, it was a pretty lucrative time to be an indie rock band, you
Sure.
know, the early mid 2000s. Like, it was a good time to be a band like us. So I think, yeah, you try to succeed.
I notice you've got a Nilsson poster over there to your right. That seems
Mm.
like a
Where is
fine
it?
spirit, huh?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. There it is.
Yeah, it seems like a fine spirit animal for you.
Yeah, yeah. We used to
Except
have
in
we
the whole, drinking a bottle of cognac a day aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's a it's a classic it's a classic poster. The classic poster that came with the album.
Oh, okay. All right. Um,
Yeah. Like the 12 by 24. Yeah.
right. Perfect. Yes. So, you guys are heading back out on the road this summer, I'm presuming?
Yeah, yeah. We're leaving mid-April. We're
Mhm.
heading out and we're basically doing 5 weeks. So it's gonna be a long.
The horns are back on this album. Are you taking some horns with you on the road, do you think?
We're bringing our friend Adam Schatz along to play saxophone and as a kind of utility player. He's a very cool guy. His main gig has been playing in Japanese Breakfast.
Oh, okay.
Uh, he was actually on SNL, so he's got us all beat there. Uh,
Haven't you?
you
You
know,
guys were never?
no,
Oh,
you
okay.
have to be really big to be on SNL. Um, it's funny the people who have made it onto SNL and the people who haven't made it. Sometimes it feels almost random.
Uh-huh. Is
You
that
know,
is
like
that still is that still a goal for you? Would you still like to be?
I would love to do it, but I don't see. Again, it's like I don't see us having a hit song. Yeah, like something freaky would have to happen for us to get on SNL.
Yeah.
It would have to be something weird. It would have to be something really weird. I don't know what it would be, but
That,
it would have to be a weird lightning strike. I don't see it happening.
uh-huh. And are you already working on the next album?
Yeah, pretty far along on it actually.
And what can you
So,
tell me about these newer songs?
um, I mean, only that I'm trying to make a record that's a lot more like narrative driven.
Hmm.
Um,
As
I
in
think
like
that
a narrative running through all the songs?
no, I mean maybe a few themes that continue through, but more like a little book of short stories or just a series of like vignettes that kind of link. there are details and themes that, you know, return here and there, but not a concept album. But just wanting, I wanted to, like, things I feel like I started doing on this record. I was just trying to write in a little bit more of a narrative way, just write in a little bit more of a clearer style, just because I'd never been that concerned with that. You know, I think when in making pop music, I think I've always just been more of an impressionist, you know, just kind of like playing with tropes and just, you know, just messing with sounds. And so yeah, I thought it would be interesting to just try and write a bunch of songs that are you know, clearer. But that's for next year. That's an interview for next year.
Oh yeah, for sure. I always find that must be an interesting, weird place to be in as an artist, though, because you're selling one thing, but you're already probably in love with the, you know, the thing that you're working on now, right? Because of the time lag,
Well,
you know.
well, yeah, that, and especially now, because if you want to put out a record every year, you basically have to have the previous record done by the time, you know, your record's coming out.
Yes.
Which is crazy. Like, yeah, like if we wanted to have, like, our record's coming out on March 31st, I think, if we wanted to have another record out at the end of March next year, it would have to be done by like May.
Yeah.
You know, like, or something like that, which it's insane. Which I doubt it's going to happen, because we're April to May, we're on tour. We'll see. I've got a month here, roughly.
There you go. And you're obviously a guy who gets up early, so, you know, crank it out.
Yeah, but getting up early and being a productive person are two different things.
Fair enough. All right. Last question. I know you got other people to talk to. As a guy now with a family and kids, and have you ever regretted the band name?
No, I mean, like, I don't know what it would have been. You know, like I feel like it's just all part of the path, you know? Like whatever negatives came with the band name, like, I think it also brought, you know, it brought positives with it. Like, I can't, yeah, I don't know what I am. What does that make me? I'm maybe I'm just some kind of Buddhist. I just feel like it was all part of our path, you know? Like it was like, I can't question what our path was, because it all led to here, you know? And for all the good and bad, like, I couldn't say that it should have been another way. That's maybe a too cosmic of an answer for your question. I don't know. No, I don't really regret that band name.
All right. Well, listen, man, I know you've got other people to talk to, like I said, so I'll let you go. Thanks for your time today. Thanks for this music. And I look forward to your next cross Canada trip.
Awesome. Nice talking to you.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.